All right, guys, so we're looking at this here. So problems 1 through 8 use law of sines to find the missing sides and angles. And again, you will be allowed to use the reference sheet on the test. I would definitely use that for these here because it does help you determine how many solutions we'll have and kind of what formulas we should be using. So when we look at the first one here, because I have a feeling we can just go over number 1 and go over a few of these here. When we look at this triangle, well, we're given 2 angles and a side length. Well, that's kind of nice because if we're given 2 angles and a side, it's pretty easy to find the third one. Because any 3 angles in a triangle do add up to be 180. So what we can do is take 135 degrees and add the other angle 10 degrees to it, which would give us 145 degrees. And then take that and subtract it from 180. If we subtract it from 180, we get 35 degrees, which tells us that the measure of angle A is 35 degrees. Now we only need to find side length A and side length B. Questions on this so far? Now, to find A and B, side length A and B, we're going to use law of sines. And the one we'll end up using is going to be A over sine of A is equal to B over sine of B is equal to C over sine of C. Because we know when we have little a, little b, little c on top, we're solving for a missing side. Now it really doesn't matter which one we do first. So we could say side length A over sine of angle A, which we found to be 35 degrees. Is equal to, well, the only side length they gave us was C, which is 45 over sine of angle C, which is 135 degrees. Questions on this so far? Well, to get A by itself, we can multiply both sides by sine of 35 degrees. Which these here would simplify to 1, telling us A is equal to 45 times sine of 35 degrees over sine of 135 degrees. At which point we can plug it into the calculator. Clear that out. So we hit our fraction, 45 sine of 35 degrees over sine of 135. And hit enter. And normally for this here and on the test, we're going to round to 2 decimal places for the most part. If you do have questions on where to round, ask. I will clarify. So that's told us that side length A is 36.5 or 0.50. 36.5. Questions on this so far? So now we just need to find the other side length B, yes? And looking at this here, because we could go through the same process we did for this one here, finding side length A. But the only thing that's changing, or the only 2 things that are changing as well, we won't have A here anymore, and this won't be 35. Because now we'll have B, and this is now 10, yes? Which means we're not multiplying both sides by sine of 35 degrees anymore. It's just sine of 10 degrees. And really all of this here, the only thing that changes is the number inside of sine on top of that fraction changes from 35 to 10, yes? So really in the calculator, I can come reselect this and change this number from 35 to 10, and we got the answer. Does that make sense how we did that there? So really we could have gone through and rewritten everything and worked it all the way through. Or I could have found the first one, 45 sine of 35 all over sine of 135, enter. I get my answer, go back, change 35 to 10, and get the other answer, which is 11.05. That's it. Questions on that there? Does that make sense how we shortcutted through the last part? Any other questions on number 1? Okay. Questions on problem 2? Because problems 1 and 2 are essentially the exact same thing. Let's look at the next page. Get this here to look at. So looking at page 2, 3, 4, and 5, is there any one of those 3 that y'all want to look at? 4? Okay. So if we look at problem number 4 here, we have 28 degrees for angle B, 104 degrees for angle C, and we have side length A is 3 5/8. So this here is kind of a funky looking problem. Now we are given 2 angles and a side length, yes? And this one here, especially if you have similar ones to this here, for those of you that might still take the ACT again, problems like this here are good to draw out. Because if they don't give you a picture but they're talking about a shape, draw it. That's where I would start with some of these here. I would just draw a triangle. It doesn't matter how it looks, if it's accurate or to scale. I just need a picture. And we can label it angle A, B, C. They told us angle B is 28 degrees. They told us C is 104. And they told us side length A is 3 5/8. It gives me something to look at so I know how the angles and sides are relating. Well, we do know that 2 angles, or any 3 angles in a triangle, add up to be 180. So we can say 28 plus 104 when subtracted from 180, or an easier way to do it is in the calculator, say 180 minus, let's see here, 28 and 104. 28 minus 104, which tells us the other angle has to be 48. So we can come over here and say angle A is 48 degrees. Now we need to find side length B and side length C. And the setup for finding B or C is essentially going to be the same as the last one. We're going to have side length B over sine of angle B. Well, angle B is 28 degrees. Is equal to, well, the only side length that we know is 3 5/8, yes? Is 5/8 a nice decimal? Well, we can see. Because 5 divided by 8 is 0.625. So if we wanted to, 3 5/8, so 3.625, we could write it as a decimal. We've also seen that we can write it as a mixed number inside the calculator. We don't have to actually do it that way. Over sine of the angle opposite. And at this point here, we can multiply both sides by sine of 28. These here will cancel, telling us that B is equal to 3.625 sine of 28 over sine of 48. So here we can do fraction 3.625 sine of, what was it, 48, sine of 28 over sine of 48, 2.29. I think about what y'all get. We agree? So 2.29 is the value of B. And I mean, if we wanted to use 3 5/8, that would have worked just fine too. So we could have done second, this here 3 and 5/8, and we would get the exact same answer. So we could type it in as a mixed number, we could type it in as the decimal, it doesn't matter what form. The calculator will do it for us still. And we get this here. Now the last thing we need to find is C. Well, C in the end is going to look similar to what we have here, 3.625 times sine of 104 over sine of 48. So in the calculator here, we can replace 28 with 104 and get 4.73. Apparently it's going to scroll. And that's it for that there. Any questions on any of this so far? Are you good with all this here? Yes. Questions on 5? Yes, I think that was 5 is the last one on that page. Okay. So 5, 6, or 7. Any one of those that y'all want to look at. 6. Let's look at 6. So 6 here, we have an angle and 2 side lengths. An angle and 2 side lengths. Now, this one here, since we don't have 2 angles, we're going the other path. So the first question after realizing that we have an angle and 2 side lengths is the angle greater than or equal to 90? Well, no, it's not greater than 90. It's 76 degrees. So that gives us 2 choices. Is A less than B, or is A greater than or equal to B? Here it's less than B. So that gives us one of 3 choices, A and B sine of A. And it's looking at how these two relate. Which one's going to be bigger, or are they equal? So A is 18, B is 20 sine of 76. So in the calculator, we can do 20 sine of 76 degrees, and we get 19.41. 10. Well, 19.41 is bigger, yes? So how many solutions do we have? None. So this is no solution. Questions on this here? Not too bad so far. That was a nice one. We can go on and do the next one here, number 7. So we have 58 degrees, 11.4, and 12.8. So the question for this one here, look at this, is, so we're given 2 sides and an angle, which leads, is the angle greater than or equal to 90? Well, no, the angle is 58 degrees. So no. Now we're looking at A and B. And again, A and B is really dealing with the angle, and the side opposite is our A's, and B is the other side. So we're looking to see, is A greater than B, or so is A less than B or greater than or equal to B? Well, here it's less than B, yes? So we have to follow that path. And so A is less than B, so we have back to our 3 spots, yes? Dealing with A and B sine of A, yes? Well, it's nice that they're still using A and B. So A is 11.4, and B, we have 12.8 times sine of 58 degrees. 12.8. So 12.8 sine of 58. Yep, 10.85. So we can see that 11.4 is bigger, yes? So it's not going to be no solution. It's going to be what? Two solutions. So that's what that helps us with. It tells us that, okay, we're going to have two solutions. Gives us a number of solutions so we know how to work this. So for us, that means that we're going to have angle B, measure of angle B, 1, measure of angle C1, and side length C. We'll also have the measure of angle B2, C2, and C2. So we're going to have 6 different values for this here because it makes 2 separate triangles. Now to find the missing angle, well, here we're going to have to find sine of B first, because the only side that they gave us besides A was B, so we have to find angle B first. Now this is going to be equal to sine of 58 degrees over 11.4. Luckily with finding the missing angles, is we only have to find one, then we can find the other because they add together to be 180. Now the first step in this is going to be to multiply both sides by 12.8. And these will cancel, telling us that sine of B is equal to 12.8 sine of 58 over 11.4. Now, is there a chance 12.8 and 11.4 will simplify? Maybe. But the calculator will do it for us, so there's no real point in trying to simplify anything at this point. Let's wait till the end. Questions on this so far? Now, to get angle B out, we need to take sine inverse of both sides. Here, sine in and sine inverse simplify, leaving me with angle B is equal to sine inverse of 12.8 sine of 58 over 11.4. And luckily for us, we don't have to do this by hand or try to calculate this. The calculator will do it for us. So we can say second sine inverse .4 11.8 58, and we get this here, which tells us angle B is 63.02 degrees. Questions on how we found the measure of angle B? Did you all agree with 02? I have a feeling I'm 12.8, 11.4. I did. Four, yes. 72.21. Sound better? Okay. 72.21. 72.21 degrees. There we go. And that's the measure of angle B, 1. You all remember how we find the other angle B? We take that angle and subtract it from 180. So to find the other measure of angle B is we take this 72.21 and subtract it from 180. Bless you. Because this is really going back to our reference angles. in that sine is positive in both the first and second quadrant, which is 0 and 180, so we get the other angle from there. And you guys get 107.79. So the other angle B is 107.79 degrees. Any questions on this so far? Well, to find angle C, we know that any three angles in a triangle add together to be 180. So we can add 58 and 72.21 together, then subtract it from 180. 6 goes 5, 3, so 130.21. Subtracted from 180. 0. Think y'all get 50.79? I think I was probably off. 1, 2, 0, carry the 1, 6, 3. Yeah, I'm off. Because, what is that, 49. 7, 9, 9, 10, 9, 7, 9, 4. Yes? Yeah. So we get 49.79 degrees. Then we can do the exact same thing to find the other angle C. So we do 58 plus 107.79. Add these together, we get 795, carry the 1, and subtract 165.79 from 180. 1, 2, that's 7, that's 9. 14.21. Yes. Okay. We have this here. Any questions on this so far? I mean, for the most part, we did one actual calculation. The rest has been just addition and subtraction. Now to find C, the fraction I picked for this here is going to be A, whichever two they give us that are going to be the same for both. So I'm going to pick 11.4 over sine of 58. And this is going to be over, C is going to be over sine of, well, 49.79, yes? And that's for C1. To find C2, we're just going to replace that sign with the other version. At this point here, we're going to multiply both sides by sine of 49.79. These will cancel, telling us C is equal to 11.4 sine of 49.79 over sine of 58. And at this point here, we can plug it in. For sine of 9.79 over sine of 58. And y'all get 10.27 if we round. So the first C is 10.27. Now for the other one, we're really just replacing the sine's value on top with the other angle for C. And our other angle for C is 14.21. So we can come back in here and change the top to 14.21. Hit enter, and we get our other C value, 3.2998. So if we round to the nearest second decimal, it's 3.30. Any questions on how we got the other one? And that's it for that there. Any questions on this here? All right, let's move. On to the next one here. Law of cosines, because I think we feel pretty comfortable with law of sines, because that one there encompassed pretty much the rest of it that we could do with law of sines. Law of cosine. So here we're trying to find a missing angle first, yes? Well, we could pick one of them, as we saw, say angle A is cosine inverse of, well, it'd be b squared plus c squared minus a squared all over 2 times b times c. At this point here, we're just using the formulas. And I'd make sure to have the formulas written down on the sheet so that you have them. 3, 8, and 7. So here we can go second cosine inverse of 3 squared plus 8 squared minus 7 squared over 2 times 3 times 8. Incidentally, we get 60, yes? That's actually really nice. Now we can go and find the measure of angle B. B is going to be cosine inverse of, okay, good. So it would be a squared plus c squared minus b squared over 2 times a times c. It's a cosine inverse of 7 squared plus 8 squared minus 3 squared over 2 times 8 times 7. And we get 21.77, yes? Or did I get something a little different? Sure, B, yep, 21.77, or did y'all get a different value? Oh, sorry, 7.9. I was wanting 7.9. I was misreading it. 21.79. Now we just need to find the measure of angle C, yes? Well, we could do the same calculations or say 180. There we go. 180 minus 60 minus 21.79, which tells us the other angle is 98.21. Questions on this here? We kind of like it when we have to find 3 angles, because it's just using this formula, plugging them in, and we're done. Are you ready for the next one? Okay. Here we're given 2 sides and an angle in the middle, so we need to find the third side and the other 2 angles, yes? So the first thing we can find is angle C. Well, we can say C squared is equal to A squared plus B squared minus 2 times A times B cosine of angle C. Yes? But what are we going to have to do eventually? We're going to have to square root both sides, yes? So really we're just saying that C is equal to the square root of 9 squared plus 4.5 squared minus 2 times 9 times 4.5 cosine of 105. So in here we can go second square root of 9 squared plus 4.5 squared minus 2 times 9 times 4.5 cosine of 105. Bless you. And we find out that that side is 11.06. Now we just need to find measures of angle A and B, yes? So it doesn't matter which one we do, we can say A is equal to cosine inverse of B squared plus C squared minus A squared over 2 times B times C. 5, 11.6, and 9. 4.5 plus 0.06 squared minus 9 squared over 2 times 4.5 times 11.06. 51.79 is angle A, yes? Or did y'all get a different value? I could have plugged something in wrong. 4.5 and 11.6. Make sure I squared it. And the third side is 9. 51.79, I think. Okay. We have this here. Then we can do the same thing we did on the last one, add the two angles together and subtract from 180. So we can say 180 minus 105 minus 51.79, 23.21. And we get this here. Any other questions on these here? Point zero. Questions, Aiden? Let's see.
Because I think I just switched the numbers because I had something to tax.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how it got that, because when I looked back at the answers, I knew that some of them were off. So I could,
yeah. If they're off by like 0.05, I'll take it. Yeah. If it's way off, if it's like, instead of getting, if 51.79 was the answer and you got 53.7, something might be off. I'll look back at the numbers and I'll retry the different ways to do them to verify that you got it. All right. So especially with these here, write the formula out like we've been doing, like this here. And I will go back and check how you plugged it in here to see if it does work out. All right. Any other questions with cosine? Because that just leaves us with area. Area is the last thing we're covered in this section, yes? Now, for the most part, the area formulas, I would, if I were you, I'd have them written down. Area is equal to, so if we're given two sides and an angle in the middle, it's just 1/2 of both side lengths sine of the angle in the middle. Because the three formulas for this here are 1/2 A times B times sine of C, or 1/2 of A times C times sine of B, or 1/2 B times C times sine of A. 8, 8.7, and 43. So 1/2 times 8 times 8.7 sine of 43. 8.17. 17 sine of 43. 22.287 or 22.29. And that's it. Questions on 14 or 15? Because those are going to be the exact same. 16 is a little bit different because it gave us two angles and a side, yes? In both formulas, we either needed three sides or two sides and an angle in the middle, yes? So here, we really either need side length A or side length B, one or the other. But according to law of sines, B over sine of B is equal to C over sine of angle C, yes? Any three angles in a triangle add up to B, 180. So 59 and 78, so I can say 180 minus 59 minus 78 and get 43. Questions on how we found angle C? Now at this point here, we'd multiply both sides by sine of 78, telling us 35 sine of 78 over sine of 43 is going to give us angle B, 35, 78, 43. Yep. 35 sine of 48, 78 over sine of 43. So we get 50.198 or 50.20. So side length C, or side length B is 50.20. Any questions on anything we've done so far? We understand how we got side length B? So really all this is saying now that area is equal to 1/2 of 50.2 times 35 times sine of, because we did B and C, the angle has to be A, because it's always the angle between the two sides. So if we picked B and C, we have to take angle A. And we plug it in. Half of 50.2 of 50.2 times 35 sine of, I think it was 59, wasn't it? Yep. And we get 753.02. Yep. 753.20 is our area. Questions on this here? Because these here are a little more challenging because we actually have to find the missing side length and then go from there. Questions on this one here? We ready to look? Oh, no. We ready to look at 17? Yes. 17 is the other area formula we got. We add all the side lengths together and divide it by 2. 1/2, 5/4, and 1 plus 5/4 all over 2 gives us 11/8. And to find the area, we take this value, because this is our S times S minus A times S minus B times S minus C, and we take the square root of it. Second square root 11/8 times 11/8 minus 1 times 11/8 minus 1/2 times 11/8, well, minus 5, what was it, halves or fourths? Fourths. And we get 0.237, 0.24. Any other questions on that one there? Now I would make sure that you do have the area formulas written down so that you do have the correct ones to plug the numbers in, because neither version of the area formula is terribly difficult if you don't have if you have the formulas. If you don't have the formulas, it'll make them a lot harder to solve. 17 and 18 is exactly the same as 17. So the area formula for this one here, A is equal to the square root of S times S minus A times S minus B times S minus C, where S is A plus B plus C over 2. And the other area formula is 1/2 AB sine of C. A is equal to 1/2 AC sine of B. And lastly, area is equal to 1/2 BC sine of A. So make sure you have the formulas written down for these and the other ones, and you have your reference sheet. Other than that, y'all have a good rest of your day.